any sort of training, whether it be weight training or running or anything like that, a lot of it's going to be neuromuscular gains. So motor unit recruitment, your body learning to recruit all of the muscle and motor units within a muscle group in the body. So they're not necessarily going to see visual results, muscles getting bigger, or the scale may not necessarily change because they're going to be developing muscle while at the same time losing inches because they're going to be burning fat. So there's got to be some expectations set so they don't get discouraged right off the bat as well. But the main thing is just promoting consistency and patience. If you pay the dues every day, eventually you will reach your goal, So don't rush it. You didn't get here overnight. You're not going to get where you want to be overnight.
Exactly. What's going on? Hope you're having a great Saturday, a great weekend, planning on spending some time with family, friends, making memories, getting outside now that it's getting to springtime, shooting your bows, getting out, maybe shooting your rifles, enjoying the outdoors, hiking, camping, whatever it may be, fishing, whatever it may be, guys. Get out there and enjoy this time as we're transitioning into spring. Get your family out there, get your friends out there, and have fun. Today's conversation with Zach, I'm super stoked to share with you guys. He's an awesome individual, helps multiple companies in the archery industry run basically their media. He does an awesome job at that. He helps out specifically with AAE, which is an amazing brand. They make some awesome stuff. You guys have seen their gear on my channel. He also works with Evolution Outdoors, Hoyt, and many other companies as well. Zach is just a great dude. He's also with Huntlete. Go check them out as well, where they want, just like with First Phorm Outdoors, for you to get in the mountains, in the tree stand, in the woods, wherever it may be, again, outdoors, hunting, and recognize that you are an athlete. Treat your body that way. So with that being said, I'm super stoked about this conversation. Hope you enjoy this one, guys. Let's get after it. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, click that subscribe button. Costs you nothing, guys. Helps out a ton over here on the channel as I continue to grow and give back to you guys. Also, leave a like and a comment on this video, whatever questions you may have for Zach, for me, as we go through this discussion. Enjoy that. And if you're listening on the audio only version, guys, subscribe or follow, whatever the button may be. It helps a ton. And leave a review, helps more than you know. Really appreciate you guys as we continue to grow. I'm going to keep giving back to you. Have a great one. Enjoy this video. And of course, get out, live your life, and love it. Well, we'll introduce you as Zach, the sick guy right now.
Yeah, basically.
So welcome back, everyone, to the RedBeard Outdoors podcast. I'm Jonathan, your host. We have Zach Bailiff. Zach is an outstanding individual that does so many different things. You've probably seen his work online with multiple different companies, from AAE to Evolution Outdoors and other companies as well that we might get into here. But Zach is co-owner of Limestone Media House. They provide media for companies, basically, and I'll let him go into that a little bit more. Media management, things that I'd like to learn a little bit more about, but he's great with the camera. Excuse me. Also has 2 kids, which is a handful in and of itself. He loves archery, loves hunting, is a dad, husband, so many things, so many other titles we could throw in there. But for people that don't know who you are, Zach, give a brief, in a nutshell, who you are.
Well, I've been on my deathbed for about 4 days so far, but we finally turned a corner this morning, so this is my first conversation with an actual human in a while.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, obviously, husband, father, family man, and then outdoorsman. Been in archery for a long time. I was around the target archery world for, several years. Back when we lived in Indiana, I was traveling and shooting a lot of the ASA tournaments, a lot of indoor archery tournaments, indoor nationals, things of that nature, which is, where I kind of got my start into more what I'm doing now. A lot of networking over the years, meeting a lot of different people within the industry, and, as needs arise for them in certain marketing capacities and things like that, I've kind of developed a skill set over the years as we saw the way things were going, where we could, step in and help some of those individuals out. So Like you said, with Limestone Media House and our digital marketing services, we do social media management, website management, help with different branding, content creation, things of that nature. And then on the other side of the coin, we've got Huntlete. So, fitness and hunting lifestyle brand, the whole sole purpose behind that is to educate, motivate, inspire, different individuals to not only get in shape for hunting season, but maintain that level of fitness to improve their quality of life, year round and well into their latter years, right? So we've got a finite amount of hunting seasons in our lifetime, and we, do our best to kind of steal one or two more of those if we can and push that final end date out as far as we can. So that's a lot of what we do with that. So.
Awesome. Yeah. And that's how, so I met Zach through AAE, and then obviously, I'm shooting the Evolution Outdoors Broadhead. So we've talked about that. You do a lot of work for them and the new release that came out there with the Ibex. And then, Huntlete, I always found that very interesting because I definitely agree with you that there's whether you're more of a whitetail hunter, which is you're more out, you're eastern Midwest.
Yeah. So I'm in Western Pennsylvania right now. I'm from Southern Indiana. So, born and raised whitetail through and through.
Yep. So a lot of that, and coming from North Carolina myself, I was never into hunting whitetail necessarily while I was out there. I did a lot more fishing and a lot of outdoorsy stuff, but not really any hunting whitetail while I was out there. But I do understand the culture in and of itself, especially in the South, is a lot more kind of laid back. You go work your 9 to 5, you come back home, you have a good hearty meal because there's always good food down in the South.
Always.
But people, yeah, and it's not necessarily the best for you though. And what I laugh about every time I go back is that the same foods that we eat now in the South are very similar, if not the same things as people used to eat, 2 generations ago, and they were skinny. And now the South is obese overall. And I think it just has a lot to do with the manual labor versus now a lot of stuff is sitting behind the desk. So they could take the higher calorie intake because they needed it. And now you still have those comfort foods that the South is known for, and you just don't have that manual labor. So that's kind of my theory behind it. But I think there's definitely a big reason, again, why I like Huntlete, because you aren't an athlete per se. Now you're not trying to be Uncle Rico and relive your high school trophy days.
It depends on the day.
Right, right, exactly. But you do want to maintain a level of fitness that is going to vary based on the person.
Right.
Some people just want to be able to play with their grandkids without being in pain. And other people want to go out and, I don't know why, but pound the pavement for 26.2 miles. That's, whatever you want to do. But either way, you want to stay fit and healthy. And I love the idea behind Huntlete providing that education and inspiration for people to continue doing that even outside of hunting season. So let's dive into that a little bit. What got that started, for you guys, and I guess what is it all about?
Yeah. So going back to athlete, I mean, obviously, if you have a body and you move, you're an athlete. I played sports. I was a 4-sport athlete in junior high. 3-sport athlete and an athletic trainer in high school, walked on the soccer team in college. And once I got away from playing soccer in college and realized that full-time job that they required me to put in hourly, I was doing that as a walk-on with no scholarship. So it was really not worth my time. I still stuck to the weight room because that was, I was kind of always the skinny kid. I was always the smallest in my class, things like that. So it was always kind of a chip on the shoulder. And that was something that I was really focused on battling, I guess, mentally in my head. And I still have a little bit of body dysmorphia. When I look in the mirror, I still see the scrawny kid. So it's something I'm always working toward. I don't know if I'll ever overcome that, but I'm happy with where I'm at. And it's definitely the way Huntlete got started was we began to really see a correlation between our fitness level and our performance during hunting season. How far we were able to hike, how much easier it was to climb trees, how much easier it was to drag deer out. And, I mean, hunting, Huntlete, it's really how it came about. It was just kind of the serendipitous moment when somebody, actually it was Chad, my partner in the Limestone Media House, said it, and I was like, man, that makes a ton of sense. And uh, Evan and I just kind of took it and ran from there with it. And Chad kind of took the fishing side and ran with that, and he's done extremely well there. And it applies to that side as well. I mean, we're dragging kayaks around and in the backwoods and skinny water and things like that, and it requires a certain level as well. Uh, as hard as we like to fish, so it really is just as far as being outdoors, being safe. It's an injury prevention thing as well. It's not just a performance thing. How far can I hike? But you've been out in the mountains. You know how loose terrain. I mean, a rock can take off out from under your foot, at the drop of a hat without even expecting it. How insulated are your joints with muscle, strong ligaments, strong tendons? How well are they able to prevent catastrophic injury in the backcountry where you may be stuck? So there's so many benefits in the hunting realm of having whatever level of fitness you desire. Obviously Cam gets out, pounds marathon plus a day. Not all of us do that, but to each their own, right? You've got to find a level to which you enjoy it, because if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to do it, and B, is attainable for you and sustainable long term. So that's a big part of it as well. We're looking at the longevity game. That's where functional fitness and things like that translate well to not only hunting but life as well. So, I mean, we get a new upright freezer. We're out here on our own. I've got no family around, really no friends close within range. So I get to unload freezers by myself, or I get to move furniture in the house by myself because my wife was pregnant at the time. Things like that, If I was not at the level of fitness that I am, those things would be much, much more difficult. So there's so many benefits, not only in hunting, but in life in general.
No, I would agree to that 100%. It's there's so many things, I've brought this up in quite a few podcasts when we talk about fitness aspect, but everyone wants to talk about money and how you put those investments, the small investments, the sooner you start, the better off you'll be in the end at retirement.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same with your fitness. You may not want to go step on stage as a bodybuilder or go pound out marathon a day like Cam Hanes. But if you put in a little bit more today, a little bit more uncomfortability today than yesterday, and then continue that all the way through, you're going to be in your 50s, 60s, 70s, and you're going to be that guy that people say you don't look your age, or you move like a lot younger guy, or you're out there with your grandkids and great grandkids crushing the mountains, being able to share your passions, or climb up into a tree and not being worried about, falling out of it because, you're stiff or you're overweight or whatever it may be. There was another story too that I heard recently when I was down in Texas, and the guide was talking about how he guided turkeys, and he had this guy come in to camp that had sleep apnea and a couple other issues, and he I'm trying to remember the situation, but basically he took him out, set him in front of him, and was calling in the turkeys from behind him. So of course the hunter will get the better shot angle. And he was just kind of looking over at this guy, and this guy's very overweight. And he looked at him, he kind of had slumped over. He's like, well, that happens sometimes, right? Some people fall asleep while they're waiting, because it's hot day, whatever it may be. And he said he just had this feeling to go check on the guy. And the guy had literally stopped breathing.
Wow.
And just from the poor circulation of sitting down, being overweight,
Right.
and then the mix of all of that with the sleep apnea, he literally, he almost died right there, turkey hunting.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, the way he described it, it was one of the easier, they just kind of strolled out into the woods and picked a spot and sat down. And it didn't take a lot of effort. It wasn't like it was strenuous or anything. But and that's an extreme example. But if you want to continue to enjoy the outdoors in whatever capacity, hunting, camping, kayaking, fishing, whatever, you want to be capable, and that's where the Huntlete comes in, being capable of whatever it is. Long sits on the boat, standing on the boat. Talking with a professional bass fisherman recently, he talked about the same thing. How in my mind, I'm like, why do you have to be fit to fish? It doesn't make sense. He's like, well, your hours standing on a boat, balancing on that boat, or sitting, or reeling things in, casting, all of these things go into motion.
Thousands and thousands of casts a day.
Exactly. It's like your back can lock up on you if you're not in good shape.
Yeah.
And your arm, your shoulder, everything else that goes into it, your wrist, your forearm, like all of those pieces to the puzzle come into play, along with the circulation if you're sitting down. There's a lot of stuff. So all of those things to be said, it's really important, no matter what your activity is, outdoors or even at the home, to have some level of fitness, so that you're not part of another statistic of overweight here in the U.S., which, by the way, I'm sure you're familiar with this, but have you heard the recent statistics of average body fat percentages for males and females in the U.S.?
I have not on body fat percentages.
What would be your guess of on average a male in the United States?
Now that you say that, I think I did hear the male didn't register, but for some reason the female number registered and stuck in my brain as what, 40%?
Yep.
Yeah, 40% body fat. That's insane.
Yeah, for females. And then males was anywhere between 25 and 30%.
Yeah.
So for a 200-pound male, that's 50 pounds of body fat. That's insane. And so, to be healthy and to have a maintenance level, you want to be anywhere between 12 to 15, right? That's kind of should be average. We're almost double that, or we are double that. And females obviously they're naturally supposed to have more body fat for many reasons, hormone regulation, other things, but not nearly half their body.
No, not nearly half their body weight. That's absolutely insane. And, carrying around that much, not only extra weight, but fat in general makes it, I mean, as everybody knows, just makes it that much more strenuous on the organs and the body in general. And it goes, back to what you were saying about dietary habits down in the South, like, food is fuel. Okay. And they're still eating the same diet that they were, but I'm sure the quantities are larger and the activity level is lower, which obviously has translated to what you see now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And it's sad to hear things like that, because you want people to enjoy life as long as possible. And with all the technology that we have, with all the abilities to, track your nutrition now, to all the workout programs that could be catered from everyone from zero experience to the most experienced. People who were, four-time athletes in high school, like yourself, a coach, things like that have been lifting for decades, and then other people that are just getting started. There's so much out there, and we're just not taking advantage of it because, I would just say, because it's difficult and out of your comfort zone for most people.
Yeah.
So how do you approach someone, as through Huntlete, that maybe is talking about making that change, and maybe they weren't an athlete, maybe they were the fat kid growing up, they've always just kind of lived that way because that's maybe their family, whatever. This is their first time getting to lifting. They're recognizing maybe something happened, which unfortunately is most cases, someone dies or they have a scare or something that gets them on the road to where they want to change their life. How do you guys approach that with Huntlete?
Generally, someone will approach us with questions regarding, how do they get started with the training plan and things like that. So one thing we didn't really cover was in college, my degree is in exercise science. So I've got a bachelor's in exercise science, was pre-physical therapy, pre-occupational therapy. I worked in therapy clinics and chiropractic clinics for a few years after that before I kind of took a different path. But, I mean, obviously fitness has always been just part of the daily, right? So you've got to kind of first discuss, like, what are your goals, kind of baseline measurements as far as rate of perceived exertion, things like that. So how hard is it for you to walk a mile? How do you feel after that? Or what's your how long does it take you to walk a mile? Things of that nature. Kind of get some baseline on, what kind of shape they're in currently. Do they have any risk factors? Are they extremely overweight, morbidly obese? Any heart conditions, high blood pressure, things of that nature. And then you can kind of talk about, okay, where do we want to start? And you've got to kind of set, especially on somebody who's very overweight, time parameters, because you don't want them pushing themselves too hard and, popping their heart in their first workout or something like that. And then obviously you can take someone from the other end who's really not all that overweight, but maybe just lacks the muscle mass, quote unquote skinny fat, for lack of a better term. And you can push them a little bit harder. Now they're going to be, both sides of the coin, they're going to be extremely sore, but you've got to help those individuals expect that there's going to be a lot of discomfort in these first 2 to 5, 6 weeks.
Right.
Because your muscles are not used to working like they're going to be working during these workouts, and kind of just help set the expectations so they don't get discouraged as well. Because one of the also big things we learn in exercise science and neuromuscular adaptation and things like that, within the first couple weeks of any sort of training, whether it be weight training or running or anything like that, a lot of it's going to be neuromuscular gains. So motor unit recruitment, your body learning to recruit all of the muscle and motor units within a muscle group in the body. Excuse me. So they're not necessarily going to see visual results, muscles getting bigger, or the scale may not necessarily change, because they're going to be developing muscle while at the same time losing inches, because they're going to be burning fat. So there's got to be some expectations set so they don't get discouraged right off the bat as well. But the main thing is just promoting consistency and patience. If you pay the dues every day, eventually you will reach your goal. So don't rush it. You didn't get here overnight. You're not going to get where you want to be overnight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, I definitely agree with that. There's a lot of time and money that, kind of jokingly and tongue in cheek, but a lot of time and money that you spent on that body that you currently have, whether that's
Right.
way overweight or not. You've invested time. It's going to take time to get that changed. And I think that's why most people don't continue with their New Year's resolutions or whatever it may be, because they're not seeing the results. They just go and start, walking on the treadmill, running. They want to go, work out on the elliptical. They go over to the weights and they get intimidated because there's a bunch of jack dudes and chicks that are over there lifting all the weights, and they don't feel comfortable asking people. And to be honest, most people probably would help, even though they're probably over there either grunting or, looking intimidating because they're internally focused on their workout. I would guarantee that
I'm guilty of that for sure. I put my headphones in and go to work, when I'm in the gym. Obviously, anybody can approach me. I'll help however I can, answer any questions anybody's got, but I don't always look like the most approachable individual when I'm in the gym, for sure.
Yeah, I've noticed that too sometimes. Like, I'll be in there, I've got my hoodie up, I've got my headphones on, and I'm probably blasting some, angry music to get me in the mood to be working out early in the morning or whatever it may be, and working out some demons. But yeah, the moment someone stops me or even kind of looks at me, and I'll take a headphone out and talk. But it's definitely something I can work on. But yeah, no, it's it can be intimidating for a lot of people. So do you guys offer coaching? Is it like one-on-one advising that you do? What's kind of the process if someone did want to start working with you guys?
Yeah, we've talked about it. I'm still, I still will do some programming on the side. It's not something I've advertised a lot, especially over the last, 2-3 years. But as we kind of restructure the website and look at developing the brand going forward and what we have to offer, we've definitely talked about like coaching or online programming as an option, either behind some sort of paywall or something on the website. Not sure how we'll do it just yet, but it's something that's in the works. But obviously, if you're looking for a customized program, you can always reach out via DM, and I'd be glad to help. Like I said, I've got my background in exercise science, and Evan's got a lot of CrossFit coaching certs and things as well. So
Evan will kick your butt. If you ever go to a shred shack, he will he will kick your butt.
yeah.
It's
I can't guarantee you won't see him with, no shirt on and rocking his tights, but I love to give him a hard time about that.
Oh yeah, well, he does CrossFit, so he's got to talk
Yeah,
about it.
yeah,
Right?
yeah. If you don't tell anybody about it, do you actually do CrossFit?
Do you even CrossFit? Yeah.
Oh, funny. No, I poke
That's
fun,
awesome.
but
Yeah. No, that's cool. So with Huntlete, I mean, all of that makes sense. Now let's talk a little bit more about Limestone Media House as well, because
yeah.
again, people can go and look at your work online. You can go on Instagram as well. Most of the product photos and things for example, Evolution Outdoors,
hmm
and you do work with AAE as well.
Yeah, I
What are
handle
some
a
other?
lot of the digital for AAE and Feather Vision. Well, not all, but most. As far as that goes, Evolution handling their social media and some of their team management stuff now, and hopefully adding one or two more clients this year, and then obviously looking for um, anyone who needs assistance with content creation for their media or marketing platforms as well. But I've done some stuff for Hoyt, Easton, Victory, um, goodness, Warrior Fuel, a lot of stuff for Vortex over the years. They've been a longtime partner of ours, almost as long as AAE has, as far as a partner with Huntlete goes. And then obviously AAE became a client through Limestone Media House as well. We're working with Slayer Calls. I'm just kind of looking around the room here.
Yeah.
Tethered, Tethered's been a big one that's come on board for us this year. We've kind of worked with them a little bit since 2019. Done some stuff with them. UltraView, starting to do a little bit of stuff with their new site, which I've been really impressed with so far. I had a lot of requirements for a hunting site and had been looking for something better for a couple of years. And when I heard what was coming out and then saw the launch video, I was very, very excited to get my hands on that one, and I've definitely been impressed with it so far. So.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. And I could talk gear all day for sure. That's definitely a good topic. You know, and I see you've got obviously a dialed site back there as well, along with the UltraView.
Yep.
But those two companies and people, it's really interesting to me. And you work with a bunch of different brands, and some of them could be considered competitors even in the market. What I've found is the majority of good brands that are going to last a long time, even with like Hoyt, PSE, Matthews, etc. Behind the scenes, a lot of the people that work at those companies are good friends, and they share insights and they talk. And it's so funny to me to see that. And then on social media or whenever you're out at shoots and stuff, like the people that are shooting those brands are like hardcore, like, well, if you shoot this, you can't shoot that, and you can't mess around with that. And it's interesting because anytime something does come out, like the other competitor will buy one of those items and check it out, and
take it apart, break it down. Yeah,
exactly. So
I'm sure that's happening with the Ibex release right now in about 10 different companies.
I bet. So with that UltraView release, the only thing that I really, and they fixed a couple things, after I put my review out. But one of the big things with UltraView, and it makes sense to me, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong here, but the pins are really, really dim unless you have the light. And it seems like the market, the majority of the market, obviously a lot of the bow hunters are Midwest and Eastern guys, and so you're allowed to have a light on your bow in pretty much all of those states. Out west, you're not, because we have some states that are a little.
Colorado being a big one, because that's where we hunt every year.
PC words that I can't say.
Yeah,
but they're being.
But I understand why they're trying to prevent people from shooting before or after legal shooting light.
Right, and that kind of makes sense to me. But again, like at the same time, if you've actually been out there, even if you have lighted pins in the dark, you still can't see your target just because the pin's bright. So like from a
Yeah.
from the politician or whatever perspective, whoever's writing these laws, I can see why they would think that, but it's not like in Texas where you've got a spotlight going out along with your lighting up your
Right.
pins.
Right.
But anyway, long story short, have you found that to be the case, or do you always run the light on your UltraView sight?
No. So Evan and I took that site. We had early release models. I had a couple notes on it early when I filled out the survey and sent back to those guys and said, here's the hard, like, these things got to be fixed, and need to be changed, and here's what I would like to see moving forward. But the brightness of the pins wasn't an issue for me. I've been waiting for a hunting site for years with 15 thousandths pins.
Right in the
That's a
middle.
pin. That's a pin size we used in the 3D world for a long time, and it's been a favorite of mine for a long time. 10 thousandths is great at distance, but it's too small, especially on the hunting side. And you want to talk about dim if you don't have light. A 10 thousandths pin gets really dim if you don't have enough light. So,
all right, brief interruption here, guys. Want to remind you that if you're listening to this in March, we're doing the March Madness giveaway where I've partnered up with GoRuck, and we're giving you a plate carrier, so a backpack looking, so it's got the backpack straps, and then on the back it's like half of a weight vest. So the Ruck plate carrier is what it's listed as on their website. Go check it out. The Ruck plate carrier with the weight plate of your choice. I'm giving that away. The details are down below. Check out the description. I'll leave it there. If you're listening to this and it's not March anymore, it's past March, that's okay. Go check out all the other options that I've got available down below to save you some money on buying gear. I've got multiple partners that I love giving back to you guys by providing discounts. Some of them provide kickbacks to me and help support the channel as I continue to grow, bring guests on, etc. for you guys. Others, it just simply want to give you a discount code on gear that I use and I would recommend to you. So go check all those out down below. If you have any questions, you can shoot me a message or on Instagram, send me an email, drop a comment down below, whatever you prefer. More than happy to help you out. Have a great one. Let's get back to the conversation with Zach. Here we go.
and 19's fine at 20 yards, but anything past that, 19 just bursts way too bad. So I really like the 15. Like I said, I took it to Colorado, shot my cow. First thing in the morning, we were in a natural ground blind, kind of a circle of trees with a bunch of deadfall piled on them and stuff. And we were kind of sitting in there. So it was really low light, and I didn't have any issues at all. I felt like they were, plenty bright, to be able to see and kind of decipher, my yardage and things like that. But I do really like their light cartridge compared to a lot of lot of other designs. This was kind of my first experience with any UltraView products, and I've been impressed so far.
Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely agree. Let's see here. The other thing, I guess I wanted to kind of talk about with, let's see, the hunting sites. There was something else that you brought up. Oh, the Ibex release. Let's talk about that a little bit because you've had it. You've got.
I've been there since day one on that one.
Yeah, you've been messing around with that. I know Dale's brought it up in the podcast that I did with Dale, and but also, I've got my hands on it. Walk me through kind of your thoughts and ideas on it. What you like about it the most, as far as the Ibex release is concerned, now that it has come out. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so oddly enough, I don't even have mine here because when we traveled back from Indiana at Christmas, I had to leave one of my boxes of hunting gear at home to make room in the truck for Christmas gifts. So it's actually stuck in Indiana. But I've been there since day one on that project. When Dale told me about it at ATA last year, I was having a lot of trouble wrapping my head around how the release itself would actually function, right? And then May last year, we went out to Redding for the National 3D Western Classic trail shoot in Redding, California. He had the first prototype version, and we played with that thing all weekend, probably put several thousand actuations on it. I started to be able to kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel at that point. And then we had a functioning prototype a fully functioning prototype early June when we were at PA TAC. So that's when I first got to actually shoot it on my bow. We discovered a lot about that release that weekend. One of the big factors that I think will make a lot of people more comfortable with the hinge being that you can roll back over the click to be able to let down. I've been shooting a hinge for a long time now, probably since 2012 or 2013, something like that. It doesn't bother me to draw a bow without an arrow on it, let it back down, go to the click and let down. Like none of that stuff bothers me, but I know for a lot of folks that is a point of anxiety, if you will, with a hinge release. So that's going to give them kind of that warm and fuzzy feeling of being safe, as they let down. But the other big thing is a lot of guys like to, especially when they're in a tree stand or in a spot and stalk, they've gotten comfortable with their thumb buttons being able to clip on their D-loop, let it hang, and they never were able to do that with a hinge, even if they felt more accurate with a hinge. They didn't want to give up that ability. Well, now they don't have to because they can clip this hinge on their D-loop and let it hang, and it's always there and always ready, which is super cool. Those two features are innovations that have never been done in hinge releases. It's probably the biggest advancement in handheld releases in 3 decades. I mean, I don't know that I've ever seen anything else on the market make quite as much of a jump forward as this have. And even though it still operates like a hinge, it does it in a completely different manner than most hinges do, which is super cool. It also, I've still got to spend a lot more time with mine. Like I said, mine's been trapped back in Indiana for a couple months now, but I've got to get a lot more reps on it. It reduces side load torque on your D-loop compared to a normal hinge as well because of the way the handle rotates around the neck. The neck itself isn't actually pulling side to side on that D-loop. So that was another big thing that could possibly reduce left and right misses for some folks as well, depending on how you function a hinge release, because there is a proper way to do it. Excuse me. But there's a lot of different ways you can do it as well. And not everybody does it the same.
Right.
Because as we all know in archery, it's about doing it the exact same way every time, less than do it the way I do it, not the way he or she does it. So, but no, I'm super excited about the release. I've been shooting a Carter 8-inch brass now for 7 or 8 years. So this is actually the first new release I've shot in a long time. And just really excited about the innovation behind it. I don't know what all Dale told you guys, but mid-year we should have something else pretty cool. That's about as far as I can go into that. But
yeah,
the company
we didn't go
itself,
into it on our podcast. We went into it off air, but yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that's about as far as I'll go with that. But avoid getting myself in hot water with the boss. But they're all out of Vegas right now, so a lot of people are getting to put their hands on that thing for the first time, and I'm excited to hear. I know the warm reception we had at ATA for the people that kind of discovered that we had it there, and what their thoughts were on it, and I'm excited to kind of hear what the buzz is out there at the World Archery Festival and hear what those folks have to say as well. But it's AAE is manufacturing things that's completely USA made, and just keeping it all in the family out there in Arizona, and it's just a really good looking product now that it's all done and polished up. And I got to see the brass this week, photos of it. I don't have one yet to take photos of, but the brass is incredibly sexy. It's very good looking.
Oh yeah. So about this release, I got my hands on it. I'm not a huge hinge guy, but I do like the features that are on it. And like what you were saying, it's reducing torque on the D loop. It's also not changing, because as you're rotating, you're in a hinge, you can be putting, whether it's side to side or whatever, that anchor point is moving just a little bit. Now, for people that are average archers, you probably don't notice a huge difference if you're shooting groups,
Right.
if you're looking to hunt with it. But as you start to get into the nitty gritty, those little movements definitely make a big deal. And so the way that neck rotates, and I think before this one, Dale, I'm trying to remember if the podcast with Dale will be out by then. So you guys will be able to go back and reference that and see he breaks down the mechanics of it and shows it to you on the podcast there. But it's a pretty sweet design. And if you're a hinge shooter, that's awesome. If you're not a hinge shooter, stay tuned for throughout the rest of the year, because there's going to be some awesome stuff that Dale comes out with as well over there with the team at Evolution. But highly recommend that you guys check that out. That's pretty cool. But I kind of laugh about the initial photos that you took and the feedback that you were getting of the prototypes of the release.
Oh yeah, TJ actually took those. Yeah, I was like, guys, these are
TJ. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, these are pre-production prototypes. They're not going to be perfect.
Yeah. Some people were. Yeah, they were like, oh, that looks terrible, and all this. The edges aren't smoothed out or whatever. And it's like, you can't win sometimes.
Yeah.
You just can't win.
And very few folks understand what the process looks like to take something from concept to reality, right?
Yep.
So the different stages of prototyping you go through, and the pre-production phase, and then then you get the production. And your first run of a production model may not be what the final version looks like.
Yeah.
If anyone's seen the versions he just took to Vegas, they've got black anodized thumb stud hardware on them versus the raw aluminum. So they're slightly different than what the first run was.
Exactly.
So there's a lot that goes into taking something from concept to final product, and you got to kind of be patient with folks, because everybody's a keyboard warrior these days, and not as many understand what goes into bringing something to life like that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I definitely agree with that. It's taken a long time, a lot of thought process, and especially for someone that shoots a hinge, you'll definitely appreciate all the thought that has gone into this release. There is because it functions slightly differently than a hinge, a normal hinge. You do have to learn to draw just slightly different. If you're a sky drawer at all,
if you sky draw your bow,
your arrows
don't even get me started. Don't even get me started.
Yeah. So basically, don't overbow yourself.
That's the long and short of it, right there.
Yeah, exactly.
If you can't hold your bow straight out and draw straight back.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about that, because you hunt out of a tree stand a lot. How did that? A hinge in general seems, when you're angled down so much in a tree stand, you're not shooting flat. How have you ever found that be an issue for you?
No, I've actually been hunting out of a saddle since 2019. And I've been hunting with a hinge exclusively since probably 2015 or so. But it's never cost me an animal. Usually it's something between the ears that goes wrong. If I make a bad shot, but no, shooting, I shot IBOs there in southern Indiana for a long time, and a lot of folks think Indiana's flat, but that's Indianapolis and north. The southern part of Indiana is quite hilly, a lot of ups and downs, and just growing up in my early days of archery shooting that way, you learn to hinge at the hips and things of that nature, and it really has never affected, my ability to shoot a hinge. Now you will notice it maybe taking you a little longer to execute the shot, uphill versus downhill or something of that nature. But no, it's shooting a hinge out of a tree has never been an issue.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, for me, like, I went to shooting a hinge, or messing around with a hinge, because I like the idea of the click. I like the idea of it as a training, tool in the off season, maybe even during target. I personally haven't experienced target panic, and that could be just the naivete of how short of a time I've been shooting a bow over the last 4 years. But I've never experienced that. I just wanted a way to kind of train myself a little bit better. So having that click, I really like the click, and then knowing to, keep rolling through, the
Yeah.
follow through, things like that. And so this click that's on the ibex is pretty sweet because it's very, very subtle, and it's almost, the way I would describe it to people, it's not even really a click. It's almost like a like a like a dull
Well,
pop that you hear.
yeah. So you'll feel it more so than you'll hear it.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, especially under tension on an actual bow, because you're 70 plus pounds of draw weight. You'll feel that vibration in the string and in the release as feedback more so than you will hear it. Shooting that A tension for years now, it's got a very audible click on it. And a lot of folks have kind of made that as a point of comment, like, that's why I never hunted with a hinge, because I was afraid the click would spook the animal. I'm like, more than anything, like, I've used it to stop a few animals. Like,
Yeah.
so I don't have to actually make any noise. But even that cow I shot this year, I mean, she was right at 30 yards, and she never even heard that click.
Yeah.
So that's never really been an issue. But moving from something that is that loud and that audible to the ibex and how subtle that click is going to take me a little bit to get used to. Because I use my click as a point of like my anchor. So like as I come back to full draw and I hit my jawbone and settle into my shot, like that's click.
Oh, okay.
And then I start pulling.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of how I have my release set up.
So everyone's definitely got their shot process, because some people do it like that. The click is their anchor point, and for me it was always like I always kept my hand like way rotated forward, because I'm still worried that hinge is gonna go off. And so I
well,
keep
have you ever shot one without a click?
Trying to remember.
That'll get you way more comfortable with a hinge.
Yeah. So I mean, the first time before I even picked up a hinge, I had a mission just in the bow shop, and I was right there at like the 5-yard, 6-yard range, or sorry, 6-foot range, right there where you do all the demo bows. And I just took a little mission bow, and I was drawing back with my buddies, and he likes his stuff really light, so you can't really do reference to that. But like I was halfway through the draw, and that thing kept going off every single time. I'm like, I can't do that. It had no click. It was just drawing back, pow, and surprising. So
usually, I mean, drawing with one rolled really far forward is kind of a not like a high anxiety thing, but just like afraid of not knowing where the point of fire is on that hinge, or being unfamiliar with it. So that's something you kind of develop as you get used to a release. You kind of learn that hand position. Okay, well, I can, instead of being this far forward, I can be, kind of more neutral without it going off. So that's just getting more comfortable with it than anything. But yeah, it kind of goes to, like, some guys punch themselves in the mouth when shooting a hinge for first times and stuff like that. Like that just comes from, like, I think more so not understanding how a hinge functions and like actually rolling it back as they're drawing. Because if you do understand, like, a hinge operates off rotation, you'll do what you're talking about, and like death grip with your thumb and keep that sucker rolled way forward so that you don't punch yourself in the mouth. But
that makes sense.
Yeah, it's going back to the whole sky draw conversation. Like, we've had a couple guys comment and say, well, I think the D loop slipping through that tiny little gap between the hook and the jaw. I'm like, that's a 10,000th gap. Like, my D loop can't go through there, so I know that's not happening. And we finally figured out, like, oh, they're drawing, and then as they lower their bow, they're actually rotating the neck and causing it to go off before they hit anchor. And that's when we kind of said, oh, this is kind of a technique thing. It's one of those things we didn't necessarily think about, but it's kind of baked into the design of the release and the way that neck sweeps and things like that just require a little bit stricter drawing technique, I guess I would say.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to remember if I had any other questions about anything in particular, but with I guess Limestone Media House.
There you go.
What I guess if you want people to come find you, if where can they reference your work? Do they go to your website? Where can they find you guys at?
Yeah, the website's up. We probably need to update it with some more recent work. You can see a lot of stuff on at Huntlete on Instagram. There's at Limestone Media House. We need to do a better job of posting more work up there, but there's a lot up there for reference now. And then there's a lot of stuff on evolution and AAE right now, as we're getting new product content up and things like that. So I'm doing a lot of that here in the cave. And there's going to be a lot more there. But yeah, 2024 is looking good as far as that goes. We've got, some projects in the works. I should have some stuff showing up on Hoyt's page here in the next few months, which should be pretty cool and a lot of fun. And working on more video stuff for this year, trying to just build all the skills. So
Sweet. I love it.
a
That's
lot of
awesome.
a lot of what I'm doing there.
What, I guess, top 2 things that you're excited about, as far as maybe products that have been technically released, but maybe aren't in too many people's hands. I don't want you to have to spoil any new releases coming out, but
well, and obviously I have a pretty strong bias, being that not only do I work for AAE and Evolution, but those guys are like family at this point. Mm-hmm. So, the Ibex is a big one. It's just, I know, like, that was a heck of a timeline, and I feel like Dale crushed it on that. And I'm really excited to see where that company goes and, what I can do to help them grow, over the next year. I know we've made leaps and bounds over the past year, and he's been super excited with that. So I'm just looking forward to help keep that trajectory on the upward swing. And then just AAE, it was a big year at ATA for those guys. We released 15 new products, which was awesome. And the Air Razor, the new vane, that was my first logo that I've done on that vane. So that's pretty cool to see millions of vanes going out the door with something on it that I drew up. So that's been a pretty cool one.
So you were able to help with that design of that vane?
Not necessarily the design of the vane. That's something they had been working on for a little over 2 years, trying to get the extrusion right and get the material to cooperate the way they wanted it to. And then once we started prototyping profiles in May, I had some of the first ones, but the logo itself was something I hand drew on an envelope and then took it over to graph paper, and then away we went. But
that's awesome. So I did get my hands on some of the vanes, the newer vanes that are coming out here with AAE. Are, I guess, the one, I guess, describe them to people in the way that, what you like about them. There's one little thing that I know people may not like about them, and I'll go into that in a little bit, but it's more of actually, I'll just go ahead and say it. They're stiffer, so they may not, they're kind of like a tack vane almost, to where if it goes through a target, it may deform a little bit and stay that way. So what I've been telling people is, well, buy a new target. Like, don't be shooting through your bag targets or your foam target.
Or, they're not going to like being shot into groups. If you wad up arrows a lot too, they're going to get a little bit beat up for that. Because of how stiff that material is, there's almost no memory to it at all, which is why they won't go back into their original shape. They are extremely quiet. The 26 profile, which is the same profile as our Max Stealth and our Hybrid 26, is possibly the quietest vane. Well, I think Nick said it is the quietest vane we've ever came out with. So that alone is saying a lot. Now, like you said, durability and memory, like the Max Stealth is still probably going to win out overall. And the Max Stealth is probably going to do a little better in the wind because it is slightly softer than the Air Razor, whereas the Air Razor being super stiff, your forgiveness in the wind is going to be a little bit lower. Right. If that makes any sense. But where the Air Razor wins out is it's 2 grains lighter than the Max Stealth. So, it's a give and take with anything. I know Snyder has shot the air razor through a couple animals, and it has not damaged the vein.
Okay.
So that's something to kind of take away from that. If you want to hunt with them, they are crazy quiet.
Oh, that's
The
awesome.
Pro profile, which is our Pro Max profile, I think is going to be a killer little like field, probably some 3D. It's going to be a great vein for that stuff. And then the Talon 3.0 profile, I think is going to be a really good option for the crossbow market, especially over our Hybrid XV. That vein is pretty heavy because of how thick they had to get it to be able to withstand the speeds of the crossbows. The Talon is already a lot stiffer than the hybrid material, so they didn't have to make it as thick. Therefore, I think they're 9 grains a piece, that's a big improvement over the hybrid XP.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then last thing people are probably going to want to know about the air razor is, does it require a primer pin?
It does not. That's the big one. I know you kind of mentioned tack there for a minute, and it is a really stiff vein, kind of in that same realm, but we don't require the primer pin, and I mean those things are welded on whenever.
Yeah.
Using the Max Bond, make sure your carbon's clean. If you're using a wrap, make sure you're cleaning your wraps. Apply your Max Bond, and they stick really, really well.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I really like, and I'm just grabbing the arrow here about the hybrids that I've been running. I ran these last year, and I'm gonna, as of right now, I'm running them this year. Maybe I'll get some hands on those air razors. And are they more of the? I'm trying to remember if they're more of a max stealth profile or the hybrid profile, hybrid 26.
The 26 is all the same profile. So the Max Stealth, the Hybrid 26, and the Air Razor 26 are all the exact same profile. The Air Razor just won't have the ribs built into it. It's smooth.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm gonna have to mess around with some of those veins and see the difference there. And have you noticed a difference? Like, have you run the hybrids versus the air razors and noticed a difference in steering, or is it more sound that you notice?
So I haven't tested the 26 because when we got the prototypes, I'm a 23 series guy. I don't ever run a 26. I don't run that big of a vein. I run 423s most of the time. This year, I think I'm going to play with 5 and see if I can tell a difference in kind of forgiveness on my bad shots. But we didn't come out with a 23, because the 23s aren't a big portion of our sales, and we didn't feel like we wanted to come out with another 23 profile. So there also wasn't a big gain in weight savings or performance with the 23. The 26s, there was definitely enough of a change in performance, sound, reduction in weight at 2 grains per vein. And I don't know that there's any real speed change or anything like that to anything, but there was definitely enough of a change in sound performance and weight to come out with that 26.
So sound and then 2 grains per vein. So the hybrid 26s are right at like 8.3, 8.7.
They're at least 9.
Okay, so it must be like 8. I guess 8.7 technically is what's put on the website or something. I know it's just under 9, but yeah.
Yeah. I know the Max Stealth is 9.
Okay.
And I was thinking the Max material should be lighter than the hybrid material, but I haven't weighed a hybrid 26. I don't even have any of those here in my cave.
Gotcha.
But
Gotcha. So that just on this arrow alone, that would be 8 grains. I mean, that 2 grains per vein, that's pretty impressive. And then of course,
substantial.
Sound is a big thing that, I know it's kind of a hot topic right now that people are talking about because they're noticing people, or I guess animals at distance are jumping the arrow, not the string, because they hear it. And if you have a loud enough vein, like a Hunter
say
Max,
it.
Pro Max, whatever.
No, I thought that's not what I thought you were going to say, but yeah, the Max Hunter's it's a loud profile. I mean, that's a tall vein.
What'd you think I was
going to say? It's a shield cut. Oh, I thought you were going to say Blazer. I shot Blazers for years in the beginning, and I mean that I never realized until one day we were doing some probably some shenanigans of some sort. And I was standing halfway between my buddy and the target, and I was like, wow, like that's substantial. As far as a sound signature.
So the HPs an AE? That's an AE product.
Yes.
It's a
Yeah.
hybrid
And
HP.
that vein is there because it was requested so much.
Yeah.
That's why that vein's
So it's
there.
the hybrid material in basically a blazer style,
shape.
quarter vein,
Yeah.
taller. Yeah.
Yep. With that same side profile.
Okay.
I don't even remember where we were going with that conversation,
Yeah. Well,
but
I was just saying, sound wise, that's a big win, and then of course weight is
yeah,
a big win. And then just don't group with them, and don't shoot them close together, and don't shoot them through a target. I guess compared to the other vein that's pretty popular, I used to shoot. I actually have quite a few arrows still fletched in it as the heats, the boning heats.
Okay.
That's a really quiet vein, but it's very stiff as well. Do you notice the difference? Like, is it less stiff than that for people just to reference?
To be honest, I've never handled that vein.
Okay.
Since I've been partnered with Nick and the crew over there in 2014, I think 2013, 2014. So yeah, 10 years. I don't think I've actually even handled another vein. I don't really have anything to compare it to. But it's stiff enough that once they're fletched on the arrow, like some guys grab a hold of their, like where their veins are to pull their arrows out of the target. You don't want to do that because, they feel like they'll catch you. They're that stiff once they're glued down. So they're very rigid for sure once they're glued up.
Well, I'll have to do a comparison video then on these and the hybrids. The hybrids worked really well. I did them in that true helical. It's 5-6 degrees depending on the shaft.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's that 8.
That's a lot.
The Arizona Easy Fletch.
Yeah.
Is that's what I use. It's just quick and easy and seems to do really well out to hunting distances. Past that, it can parachute quite a bit. But yeah, it does pretty well. So I shot hybrids. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that's the max helical you'll see any of us run is about 2 degrees. For that reason. Just we do like shooting at distance so much that that's a lot of helical. Like you said, past about 50, 60 yards, you'll really start to see that parachuting effect kind of take over. But yeah, if you're looking to get something done quick and do 3 or 4 at a time, that's the way to go.
Yeah, get 2 or 3 of those little jigs, and you're a dozen arrows deep in no time.
Yeah, my meticulousness can't handle it.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I'll have to do a comparison video then. That may come out before or after this, depending on when I get the veins. Yeah. But
I built that entire bench behind me just for arrow building.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm not quite to that level yet. I'll get there eventually. But
yeah,
that's awesome. That's real cool. Awesome. Well, with that being said, do you have anything that you want to leave for the audience or anything else? I know we kind of gave your top 2 products that are new, and I recommend people go check those out. As people know, like I said, I've been shooting the AE stuff here for the last year, and then Evolution broadheads, of course, are my recommendation to people, whether you go 4mm and go with the glue-in system or the screw-in system. Either way, the mechanical, in my opinion, is untouchable. I absolutely love their products. So the Ibex is something that people should definitely look at for their next hinge release. But
the broadhead system over there has been a really impressive one so far. I've been super excited with that.
Oh yeah. So but yeah, where can people find you at? Plug yourself, and then and then we'll anything else you want to leave the audience with?
Yeah, so it's just at Huntlete, HUNTLETE on Instagram. So you got there at Limestone Media House on Instagram as well, and then we do have Facebook, although we're not over there very often. Instagram's our primary source of engagement with folks. And just if you got any questions on training or gear or hunting out west or whitetail or pretty much anything to do with archery or hunting, just let us know.
Awesome.
We're really approachable and we love to help, so that's why we're here.
Perfect. That's awesome. Well, thanks guys so much for tuning into this. Thank you so much for being on here, Zach. I definitely
Yeah.
appreciate that, and we'll have to have you back on as other things are getting launched throughout the year to talk about a little bit more, and
Yeah.
and your thoughts on it. So that being
Yeah,
said,
for
guys,
sure.
thanks so much for tuning in, and like I always say, get out, live your life, and love it. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed that conversation with Zach. He is a great individual, loves the outdoors, loves hunting, loves archery, loves good media, putting good content out there for you guys, all of the above. Just a great overall dude. So, with that being said, guys, check out the links down below. If you need Zach, maybe even for some media, for some content, reach out to him. More than happy to help you. I am sure of it. Zach is just a great dude and will help you in just about any endeavor in the outdoors. So, with that being said, guys, again, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. If you're watching this during March, go get in on the March Madness giveaway. If you're not, take advantage of the discounts of the partners down below. It helps support me, along with subscribe to the channel. The majority of you guys watching are not subscribed. Go subscribe to the channel, leave a like, comment. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic rest of your Saturday. And of course, get out, live your life, and love it.